Right now, a winter storm unlike anything we have seen in decades is barreling toward the southern United States. Tens of millions of Americans are in the direct path. And here is what most people do not realize yet. This is not just another winter storm. We are talking about temperatures in the teens and 20s across states that rarely see snow. We are talking about ice accumulations that could leave entire communities without power for weeks. And we are talking about a footprint so massive it will stretch from New Mexico to the Atlantic coast, covering thousands of square miles. But here is the critical question that will determine everything. Where will the heaviest snow and ice fall? Because right now, two different weather models are showing two completely different scenarios. One shows massive snowfall across Virginia and the Carolinas. The other shows a sleet and ice catastrophe across the deep south. Which one is right? Stay with me, because in exactly 30 seconds, I am going to show you the specific areas where power outages could last for weeks, not days. And at the 5-minute mark, I will reveal the exact scientific reason why this storm is trending in a direction that could change everything for millions of people. Here is what we know right now. The Weather Prediction Center has issued probabilities that are frankly shocking. They are showing at least 60% chance of minor impacts across a region spanning from Texas to Virginia. But minor is just the beginning. For moderate impacts, the probabilities jump to 70, 80, even 90% across nearly the entire zone. We are talking about an area from New Mexico all the way to the mid-Atlantic states. That is not a regional event. That is a national crisis unfolding in real time. And here is where it gets truly alarming. The probability of a major event, meaning catastrophic conditions, is still sitting at 30 to 50% across huge portions of the South. An extreme event, the worst possible classification, still has measurable probability. And those numbers are climbing with every new model run. Now let me show you something that should make everyone in the affected region stop and pay attention. The hazard assessment maps are showing heavy snow from Washington, D.C. all the way back to Amarillo, Texas. That is over 1,300 miles of potential heavy snowfall. But snow is only part of the story. Ice, the most dangerous element of any winter storm, is forecast from Dallas through Monroe, Louisiana, up into northern Alabama, Mississippi, Atlanta, and across into South Carolina. Think about that geography for a moment. These are cities that do not have the infrastructure to handle major ice storms. Atlanta, a city that essentially shuts down with 2 inches of snow, could see significant ice accumulation. Dallas, where ice storms are rare enough to be generational events, is looking at potentially crippling ice. Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, cities that might see a light freeze once or twice a year, are in the potential impact zone. And here is the promise I made you 30 seconds ago: power outages. Let me be very specific about what we are facing. When you combine ice accumulation of 1 to 2 inches, and yes, some areas could see that much, with temperatures in the teens and 20s, you create a perfect storm for widespread, long-duration power failures. Ice does not just coat power lines, it brings them down. A half inch of ice can add 500 pounds of weight to a single span of power line. 1 inch can add over 1,000 pounds. Now imagine crews trying to restore power when roads are impassable, when temperatures are in the single digits, when more ice is still falling. This is why some communities could be without power for a week, 2 weeks, or longer. This is not fear-mongering. This is the reality of ice storm physics combined with infrastructure that was never designed for this level of impact. The European Model Ensemble, one of the most reliable long-range forecasting tools we have, has been remarkably consistent. Over the last 3 model runs, it has kept the heaviest impact zone in roughly the same location, though it has nudged slightly north. That consistency this far out, we are talking about a forecast that extends through the weekend, is extremely unusual. What does the European model show? It places the sweet spot for the heaviest snow across Virginia, central Tennessee, back toward Little Rock, Arkansas, Tulsa, and even extending to Albuquerque, New Mexico. We are talking about a fetch of moisture, a continuous stream of precipitation extending across nearly 2,000 miles. But here is where the forecast gets complicated, and this is critical for understanding what might happen in your specific area. The GFS model, another major forecasting tool, is showing a different scenario. It is trending north, yes, but it is also flatter. What does flatter mean in meteorological terms? It means the storm system is not digging as deep into the south. It means the northern areas might see more snow, while the southern areas see more ice and sleet. The GFS is showing heavy snow from just south of Norfolk, North Carolina, back through upstate South Carolina, around and north of Atlanta, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, around Little Rock, and back toward Oklahoma City and Dallas. See the difference? On the European model, places like Charlotte, North Carolina might see significant snow. On the GFS, that same area could see more ice and sleet. For Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, the difference could be 8 inches of snow versus 3 inches of sleet and freezing rain. And that difference is everything. Now, why are the models diverging? And more importantly, which one should you trust? This is where we need to understand what is actually driving this storm system, because the answer will determine who sees what type of precipitation. There is a massive, and I mean record-setting massive, high-pressure system entering the United States. This is not normal high pressure. We are talking about pressure readings that could break records across the central United States. High pressure of this magnitude in this cold is extremely rare this far south. This high pressure is acting like a bulldozer, pushing Arctic air deep into regions that normally never see it. And when I say Arctic air, I am not talking about temperatures in the 30s and 40s. I am talking about surface temperatures in the teens and 20s across Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. I am talking about wind chills in the single digits, possibly below zero in some locations. But here is the complicating factor, and this is what I promised to explain at the 5-minute mark. There is energy coming in from the southwest, what meteorologists call a Baja low, because it originates near Baja, California. How this Baja low interacts with the Arctic high pressure will determine everything. If the Baja low stays separate and tracks along the southern edge of the cold air, we get the GFS solution. Massive snow to the north, devastating ice to the south, and a relatively flat, west to east track. If the Baja low integrates, meaning it gets absorbed into the main storm system, we get something different. Integration would create what meteorologists call a Miller-B setup. The initial low pressure weakens, transfers its energy to a new low forming off the east coast, and that coastal low intensifies rapidly. This scenario would pump more moisture into the system, create heavier overall precipitation, but potentially shift the heaviest snow farther north. The Canadian model is showing this integration scenario. It brings the Baja low and hard, amplifies the main low-pressure system, creates the coastal transfer, and sends heavy snow all the way up into Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. If the Canadian model is right, places like Boston could see a major snowstorm, while the South sees more ice than snow. So which model is right? Here is what 40 years of tracking winter storms has taught me. When you have a high-pressure system this strong, this cold, and this far south, it tends to bully the pattern. It tends to suppress northern trends more than a typical winter storm. The northwest trend, where southern winter storms trend north and west as they get closer, might have a limit this time. But we are seeing that trend happening right now in the models. Both the GFS and its ensemble members have trended north over the last several runs. Not dramatically, but enough to matter. A 50-mile shift north could mean the difference between 6 inches of snow and 6 inches of sleet for Charlotte. A 100-mile shift could determine whether Atlanta sees snow or ice. My assessment, based on pattern recognition and the strength of this Arctic outbreak, is that we will see some northward trend, but it will be limited. I believe the truth will end up between the GFS and the European model. That means Virginia, you are likely in the heavy snow zone. Tennessee, North Carolina, northern South Carolina, you are looking at a messy mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, you are looking at a significant ice event with some snow mixed in. But let me be clear about the ice threat, because this is where the real danger lies. The European ensemble is showing freezing rain accumulations of 1.5 to 2 inches in some areas. I think that might be slightly overdone in spots, but not by much. Even if we see 1 inch of ice, that is catastrophic. 1 inch of ice means tree limbs coming down everywhere. It means power lines failing across entire counties. It means roads that are impassable. Not for hours, but for days. It means temperatures in the teens while you are without heat. It means water pipes freezing and bursting in homes that rarely see hard freezes. And here is something most people do not consider. This is not just about the storm itself. It is about what happens after. The cold air behind this system is going to be relentless. We are not talking about a quick bounce back to mild temperatures. We are talking about temperatures remaining below freezing for days after the storm ends. Look at the temperature forecast for the days following the storm. Monday morning, we could see single-digit temperatures across Tennessee, the Carolinas, northern Georgia, northern Alabama. Tuesday morning could be even colder. Wednesday morning, some models are showing temperatures below zero in areas where snow cover remains on the ground. Why does this matter? Because any ice or snow that falls is going to stay. There will be no melting, no improvement in road conditions, no chance for power crews to work safely on elevated equipment in some areas. The prolonged cold is almost as dangerous as the storm itself. Now let me walk you through the timeline, because knowing when to prepare and when to shelter is crucial. Friday afternoon and evening, precipitation begins breaking out across Texas and Oklahoma. By Friday night, snow is falling across parts of the southern plains. This is when the first winter storm warnings will likely be issued. Saturday morning, the system expands rapidly. Snow and ice spread across Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. By Saturday afternoon, the Carolinas and Georgia are getting hit. Saturday night into Sunday, the system reaches its peak intensity across most areas. This is when the heaviest precipitation rates occur. Sunday, the system begins to move off the coast, but snow and ice continue across many areas. Some models keep precipitation going into Monday morning across parts of the Carolinas and Virginia. That means we could be looking at a 48 to 60-hour event for some locations. 60 hours of continuous snow and ice when temperatures are in the teens and 20s. Think about the accumulation potential. Think about the impact on infrastructure. Think about the human cost if people are not prepared. So what should you do right now? First, if you are in the potential impact zone and you have not prepared yet, today is the day. Not tomorrow, not Friday. Today, go to the store now, because by Thursday afternoon, the shelves will be empty. You need to prepare for being without power for potentially a week or more. That means having enough non-perishable food. It means having multiple ways to stay warm that do not rely on electricity. It means having batteries, flashlights, a battery-powered radio. It means having medications, baby supplies if you have infants, pet food if you have animals. Fill your bathtubs with water before the storm hits. If pipes freeze, you will need that water. If power goes out, you will need that water. Keep your cell phones charged. Better yet, get portable charging banks and keep them fully charged. If you have a fireplace, stock up on wood now. If you have a generator, test it now and make sure you have fuel. And for the love of everything, never run a generator inside your house or garage. Carbon monoxide kills silently and quickly. For those with medical conditions that require electricity, contact your power company now. Many utilities have priority restoration lists for people who depend on electrically powered medical equipment. Get on that list if you are not already. If you live in a rural area, your power restoration could take even longer than urban areas. Make plans now. Can you stay with family or friends in an area less likely to be impacted? Can you arrange for someone to check on elderly neighbors who might not be able to care for themselves in extended cold? For those with livestock or outdoor animals, prepare now. Animals need shelter from ice and wind. They need access to unfrozen water, which means you need a plan for keeping water from freezing when temperatures are in the teens for days. Now, let me address something important. Why is this storm so unusual? Why are meteorologists who have tracked weather for decades calling this historic? It is the combination of factors: the strength of the Arctic outbreak, the depth of the southward penetration of the cold air, the moisture availability, the duration of the event, and the geographic scope. Any one of these factors alone would make for a significant winter storm. All of them together create something we rarely see. The last time we saw a winter storm with this potential for widespread catastrophic impacts across the South was probably February 2014, the ice storm that crippled Atlanta and parts of the Carolinas. Before that, you have to go back to the ice storm of 2000 and the blizzard of 1993. This storm has the potential to be worse than any of those events for some locations. Not everywhere will see historic impacts. But for the areas that end up in the bullseye of heavy ice accumulation combined with record cold, this could be a generational event. The Weather Prediction Center is already showing 90% probability of below normal temperatures for the next 10 days across the affected region. 90%. That is not just confidence. That is near certainty. And the pattern beyond this weekend remains cold, active, and stormy. This is not one of those situations where we get one big storm and then temperatures bounce back to the 50s and 60s. The long-range pattern shows continued cold, continued chances for additional winter weather events. Some models are already hinting at another wave of low pressure moving through the south next Tuesday or Wednesday. It is too early to know if that will amount to anything, but it shows you the pattern we are in. Arctic air is going to be locked in across the eastern two-thirds of the country for an extended period. Lake effect snow is already piling up across the Great Lakes region. Some areas have seen over 2 feet of snow in the last 48 hours, and more is coming. The same Arctic air mass that is fueling the lake effect is going to be the foundation for this southern winter storm. There was also a significant space weather event yesterday. An X-class solar flare launched a coronal mass ejection that hit Earth's magnetic field. We reached G4, geomagnetic storm conditions, nearly hitting G5, the highest level. Aurora were visible at unusually low latitudes. Why mention this? Because some research suggests that major geomagnetic storms can influence atmospheric circulation patterns. It is not definitive science, but it is interesting timing. We get a major solar storm just as one of the most significant winter weather patterns in years sets up across the country. Here is what happens next in terms of forecast updates. The National Weather Service will start issuing winter storm watches within the next 24 hours for the earliest affected areas. Within 48 hours, much of the South will be under winter storm watches, warnings, or ice storm warnings. Pay attention to those warnings. Understand the difference. A winter storm watch means conditions are favorable for significant winter weather. It is issued 24 to 48 hours before the event. A winter storm warning means significant winter weather is occurring or imminent. That is your signal that the event is beginning. An ice storm warning is specific and serious. It means ice accumulation of a quarter-inch or more is expected. When you see ice storm warnings, understand that this is the most dangerous type of winter weather warning. Ice causes more power outages, more dangerous travel conditions, and more structural damage than snow. Monitor your local National Weather Service office for updates. Do not rely on national news for your specific forecast. Your local Weather Service office will have the most accurate, most localized information for your area. And understand that the forecast will continue to evolve. We are still several days out. The models will continue to refine the track, the precipitation type, and the accumulation amounts. But what will not change is the certainty that a major, potentially historic winter storm is coming to the southern United States this weekend. The question is not if this will be a significant event. The question is, where will the worst impacts occur and exactly what type of precipitation will fall in each location? Those details matter enormously to you if you live in the affected area. A shift of 50 miles could mean the difference between snow you can shovel and ice you cannot remove. A temperature difference of 2 or 3 degrees could determine whether you get snow or freezing rain. These are the details we will continue to monitor. But here is what you can bank on. This weekend will bring winter weather impacts to a huge portion of the country. Tens of millions of people will be affected. Travel will be severely impacted or impossible across large areas. Power outages will be widespread, and some will be prolonged. If you have the ability to cancel travel plans for this weekend, do it now. If you have the ability to work from home next week, arrange it now. If you need to travel before the storm hits to be somewhere safer, do it today or early tomorrow. Once the storm begins, you will be stuck where you are. For those who remember the ice storm of '98 in the Northeast, or the Christmas blizzard of 2009, or the Valentine's Day ice storm of 2014 in the South, this has the potential to rival or exceed those events for some areas. I want to be clear about something. This is not about creating panic. This is about creating preparedness. There is a massive difference. Panic means making irrational decisions. Preparedness means making rational decisions now so you are not forced to make desperate decisions later. Stock up on supplies today, and you are prepared. Wait until Friday afternoon, and you will be competing with everyone else who waited, and the shelves will be empty. Charge your devices today, and you are prepared. Wait until the power goes out, and it is too late. The reality is that most people will get through this storm safely if they prepare properly and do not try to travel during the event. The people who end up in trouble are the ones who are unprepared or the ones who think they can drive in conditions that are undrivable. When we say ice makes roads impassable, we mean impassable. Four-wheel drive does not help on ice. Snow tires do not help on ice. Chains do not help on ice. The coefficient of friction on ice approaches zero. That means your vehicle cannot grip the road regardless of what equipment you have. Every winter storm, we see the same thing. People think they can make it. They get stuck. Or worse, they wreck. Emergency services get overwhelmed trying to rescue people who should not have been on the roads. Do not be that person. If the roads are icy, stay home. Similarly, when power goes out, do not try to heat your home with your oven or grill. Carbon monoxide kills. Every winter storm, people die from carbon monoxide poisoning because they brought outdoor heating sources inside. If you do not have a safe way to heat your home without electricity, go somewhere that does before the storm hits. Now, let me tell you what the weather pattern looks like beyond this immediate storm. The jet stream configuration is going to keep us in a cold, active pattern for at least the next 2 weeks, possibly longer. The polar vortex, which normally stays locked up in the Arctic, has been displaced. When the polar vortex gets displaced or disrupted, Arctic air floods south into the mid-latitudes. That is exactly what is happening now, and once that pattern sets up, it tends to persist for weeks. This is not a quick in and out cold snap. This is a pattern change. What that means practically is that even after this storm moves out, temperatures will remain well below normal, and we will continue to see opportunities for additional winter weather events. The pattern is loaded for multiple storms. February is typically the snowiest month for many parts of the South when snow does occur. And if this pattern holds, we could see an unusually active February for winter weather across the southern states. Again, not trying to create alarm, just giving you the reality of what the long-range pattern suggests. For those in the Northeast, your time is coming too. If the Canadian model is right and we get that transfer to a coastal low, you could see significant snow Sunday into Monday. Even if the transfer does not happen exactly as the Canadian shows, the pattern is cold and active for you as well. Let me leave you with this. Winter storms in the South are different than winter storms in the North. Northern cities have fleets of snowplows, salt trucks, equipment designed to handle winter weather. Southern cities have a few trucks, limited supplies, and infrastructure that is simply not designed for major winter events. That means when a storm like this hits the South, the impacts are disproportionately severe compared to what the same storm would cause in the North. It takes longer to clear roads. Power restoration takes longer because crews are not as experienced working in these conditions. Everything takes longer. So when forecasters say this could be a historic storm for the South, believe it. Historic does not mean worst ever. It means significantly worse than normal. It means an event that people will remember and talk about for years. It means an event that will serve as the benchmark for comparison when future storms occur. This is that kind of storm. Prepare accordingly. Take it seriously. Make your plans now, and then hunker down and ride it out safely. The next 72 hours will determine the final track and impacts. I will be monitoring every model run, every update from the National Weather Service, every piece of data that comes in, and I will continue to provide updates as the situation develops. But the time to prepare is now, not when the snow and ice are already falling. Now, today, this afternoon, get your supplies, make your plans, prepare your home, check on your neighbors, especially the elderly, and get ready for a winter storm that the southern United States will remember for years to come. Stay safe out there. This is not a drill. This is the real thing, and it is coming this weekend.